Hello everyone. I am Utkarsh Agrawal, currently pursuing second year of masters in construction engineering and management from CFT University. My student code is PCM23414. I will be showcasing my fourth semester portfolio work for directorate research project on the topic asset monetization in the highway sector, studied under the guidance of Mr. Sagar Deshmukh. I will be presenting my detailed research on a crucial area for financing India's infrastructure goals. India faces a substantial infrastructure funding gap, and traditional models cannot keep up with the demand for modern roads and highways. This led to the evolution of asset monetization as a policy innovation. Through this research, we explore how mature road assets can be leveraged using models like toll operate transfer and InVITs to unlock value and reinvest in future infrastructure. As India's population nears 1.5 billion by 2030, the strain on existing transport systems has become evident. To address this, the government launched a range of initiatives, including the National Infrastructure Pipeline and the National Monetization Pipeline, or NMP. The NIP aims to address India's underperforming infrastructure, which currently only invests 5% to 6% of GDP. The NIP involves central and state governments and the private sector to close the gap. The NIP adopts a waterfall methodology for public funded projects with preference for PPP bought, PPP annuity, and EPC lump sum turnkey basis. The NMP aims to monetize 6 lakh crore rupees worth of central government assets by FY 2025, focusing on brownfield, de-risked assets with stable revenue streams. Key drivers include economic growth, urbanization, employment generation, and resilience and sustainability. The highway sector is vital to India's infrastructure, but faces challenges like project execution delays, inadequate maintenance, and funding constraints. Asset monetization is a solution to unlock value, attract private investments, and recycle capital into new projects. The focus of this study is to analyze how asset monetization, particularly through models like toll operate transfer and invitees, can unlock capital, enhance operational efficiency, and address funding gaps. In terms of methodology, the research includes both primary and secondary components. Primary research methodology involved an in depth literature review, financial modeling using discounted cash flows, stakeholder interviews, and scenario analysis through a live case study of a 13-year-old national highway. Secondary sources included NHAI reports, IBF data, and official statistics. Financial analysis was performed using a discounted cash flow model, with projections extending up to FY 2044. This comprehensive approach allows us to assess not just the potential of monetization, but also its real world viability in the Indian highway sector. Asset monetization, in AM, is essential to bridge infrastructure funding gaps by unlocking the economic value of underutilized public assets, thereby reducing the fiscal burden and recycling taxpayer funds. Basic structure of asset monetization cycle and process is shown here. Moving forward to the need for asset monetization. Challenges by 2050 include delays in growth potential due to infrastructure shortage, current decisions defining future developments, need for effective PPP models, increased natural calamities testing infrastructure resilience. Urbanization and infrastructure include 5 Indian states expected to have over 50% urbanization by 2030. Metropolitan cities expected to rise from 46 in 2011 census to 68 in 2030, filling infrastructural gaps to accelerate urbanization and boost economic activity. Population and infrastructure include India's working age population projected to increase by 1.2 times between 2015 and 2030. By 2030, India's median age will be 31 years, acting as a growth booster. Government's vision, mission, and strategic goals include create an enabling environment for private investment in infrastructure, design, deliver, and manage public infrastructure projects, benchmark infrastructure performance to global best practices and standards, use technology to improve service quality, efficiency, and safety. Total capex in all infrastructure sectors was projected at approximately 111 lakh crore rupees. Services sector does. Services sector expected to account for 58% of India's GDP by 2030. Industry's share of total employment predicted to remain around 24% from 2012 to 30. At a global scale, India's infrastructure deficit remains a challenge. The Global Infrastructure Outlook 2017 projects a need for $94 trillion in global investments by 2040, with Asia accounting for 50%. For India alone, the estimate is $4.5 trillion by 2030. The government of India recognized that relying solely on public funding is not sustainable. Hence, asset monetization emerged as a strategic financial tool to bridge funding gaps while unlocking economic value from underutilized assets. Monetization not only reduces fiscal pressure but also recycles taxpayer money for new development. This shift aligns with global practices in infrastructure finance, such as securitization and hybrid PPP models. The National Monetization Pipeline is a government initiative in India aimed at establishing a medium term pipeline for monetization ready assets. Developed during the COVID-19 pandemic, it lists assets and asset classes under various infrastructure ministries that will be monetized over time. The NMP provides visibility on the volume of assets to be monetized and potential value, and serves as a medium term roadmap for financing opportunities and drives preparedness of public and private sector investors. The Department of Expenditure scheme offers financial assistance to state governments through 50-year interest free loans, promoting asset monetization and disinvestment. The NMP includes assets from various sectors, including roads, ports, airports, telecom, railways, warehousing, energy pipelines, power generation, power transmission, hospitality, and sports stadiums. The Bharatmala Phase 1 project aims to enhance last mile connectivity, develop 60,000 kilometers of national highways, reduce fatalities by 25%, and increase private sector participation in national highways. It also aims to improve connectivity for border areas and international roads. The government plans to increase asset monetization options with a target of 1 lakh crore rupees by 2024. The project also focuses on long term financing through credit enhanced bonds and innovative financing models. Advanced technology in traffic management, safety, and security is being implemented. India's road share is strong, with 85% passenger and 59% freight traffic in 2018, but only 76% on the World Economic Forum's Road Connectivity Index. This highlights the need for better roads in rural and border areas. Road safety remains a concern, with a fatality rate of 17 per hour. Banks are increasingly concerned about financing private participants in the road and highways industry. Land acquisition costs have increased due to the RFCTLARR Act, affecting contractors' bidding capacity. The National Highways Authority of India (NHAI) may consider procuring all approvals and 90% contiguous land in advance. Improving contract enforceability and dispute resolution is crucial for private finance recruitment. The NHAI plans to monetize completed roads to increase greenfield project funding without increasing debt levels. IT based infrastructure maintenance and accident monitoring are also needed, as 63% of road accident fatalities occur on state and national highways. Timeline and major events are also illustrated along with the highway construction pace. The National Infrastructure Plan (NIP) aims to create a sustainable highway network that meets global safety, efficiency, and connectivity standards. Key focus areas include digitization of operations, adoption of green technologies, and development of multimodal logistics parks. However, delays and cost overruns can occur due to lack of project preparation and coordination among stakeholders. Private sector participation remains limited due to regulatory hurdles, contractual disputes, and funding risks. Asset monetization is identified as a transformative approach to infrastructure financing, addressing challenges in generating sufficient returns and enhancing the attractiveness of infrastructure projects to investors. Monetization in India is structured mainly around two models: toll operate transfer (TOT) and infrastructure investment trusts (INVITs). INVITs are trusts holding infrastructure assets with long concession periods and stable cash flows. They offer tax efficient returns and are ideal for long term institutional investors due to their pass through status. INVITs provide liquidity to developers and a stable income stream to investors. The typical invitee structure is also illustrated here. PPP model remains a cornerstone for infrastructure financing in India, leveraging private sector efficiency while ensuring public sector oversight. TOT allows the private sector to operate and maintain publicly funded highways, while invites serve as long term investment vehicles with bundled infrastructure assets. The TOT model, introduced by the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways (MORTH), is a method for monetizing a portfolio of road assets to long term investors. Inspired by the Operate Maintain Transfer (OMT) model, it involves leasing out operational national highways constructed under the EPC model. The selected operational stretches are bundled and bid out to the private sector, typically including players with deep pockets. The NHAI can securitize toll receivables by collecting an upfront concession fee, IECV. The private sector bidder with the highest upfront payment will be selected and will collect toll, operate, and maintain the underlying operational road assets for 30 years from the date of financial closure. The TOT model has been authorized for the monetization of 75 publicly funded national highways with a cumulative length of approximately 6,400 kilometers. State governments are likely to consider asset monetization through the TOT model for their portfolio of mature operating road assets. The TOT model must be configured by DEA and NITI Aayog for use by other infrastructure ministries. PPP frameworks must evolve to ensure fair risk sharing. Additionally, regulatory clarity and enforceable contracts are necessary to make monetization investor friendly and sustainable. Other than these, various business models, including JV, were also understood, along with understanding the complete framework of asset monetization. Various reforms and initiatives are also being taken up by the government to scale of the infrastructure. The data collection process drew heavily from authenticated secondary sources such as Mortha budget documents, NET Ayog reports, and the IBEV 2024 report. These provided macro level data on infrastructure investment trends and project costs. At the micro level, we analyzed the capital expenditure from fiscal year 2020 to 2025 for highways, including the costs of 5 expressways and 1,815 national highway projects. Stakeholder interviews added practical insights, including views on O&M efficiencies, traffic risks, and pricing models, with the case study being selected based on its maturity, traffic profile, and alignment with NHAI priorities. The National Infrastructure Plan (NIP) outlines the development of 1,815 national highways and 5 expressways between fiscal year 20 to fiscal year 25, with a dedicated capex incurred annually for each region. The capital expenditure for these expressways is estimated to be 2,22,150 crore rupees. Around 38% of the capex outlay will be developed by the private sector under HUM. As of March 2020, 35% of these projects were under implementation, 26% under development, 36% at conceptualization stage, and 3% uncategorized. 40% of these projects are expected to be completed under the EPC model and the rest under the PPP model. The total number of central projects is 1,820, while the total sale Naikak not ikam state or task back budget cat college projects is 658. The remaining 38% will be implemented by the private sector. However, many projects are still being considered under EPC mode instead of PPP for both central and state projects. The total estimated project cost is higher than the total capital outlay for fiscal year 2020 to 2025, potentially leading to financial deficits and project delays. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways, MORTHE, has made significant progress in awarding and constructing national highways (NHAs) annually. In fiscal year 2021, the Ministry of Road Transport and Highways reported an annual national highway construction of over 13,327 kilometers, averaging around 35 kilometers per day. The total length of highway assets considered for monetization is around 22% of the total NHs, excluding the network operated by the private sector under BOT toll-based PPP concessions. NHAI is incrementally adding 2,000 to 3,000 kilometers of monetizable toll roads annually. The global infrastructure investment requirement is estimated at 94 trillion US dollars from 2016 to 2040, with 50% of this required in Asia. Governments are leading the initiative to address this deficit, but they cannot fund it alone. Public sector options include public funding, private partnerships, value capture, debt financing, and public asset recycling. Institutional investors and funds have invested in mature economic infrastructure projects like toll roads, ports, and airports in North America, Europe, Australia, and the Asia Pacific region. Other than this case study of Melbourne Port, Australia's asset recycling, Indiana toll road concession, and Indonesia's concession scheme were also considered. The Indian Brand Equity Foundation, IBEF, released a report in November 2024 on India's road sector, highlighting the country's progress and future targets. As of January 2024, India's national highways, NH, reached 146,145 kilometers, indicating a significant expansion over the past decade. The Ministry of Road Transport and Highways (MORTH) budget allocation for FY 2024 is 2.70 lakh crore rupees, with 44% utilization of the annual allocation in just one third of the year. In July 2024, 826 roads projects were PPP out of 1,883 total projects in India. The Union government approved 8 national high-speed corridor projects involving the construction of 936 kilometers of highways at a total cost of rupees 50 lakh 655 crore. NHAI plans to award 1,000 to 1,500 kilometers of projects under the Build, Operate, Transfer (BOT) model in 2023-24. The government has successfully rolled out over 60 road projects worth over $10 billion dollars based on the hybrid annuity model (HAM), balancing risk appropriately between private and public partners and boosting PPP activity in the sector. The road sector targets 1.6 lakh crore rupees in monetization by FY 25, with 37,350 crore rupees monetized up to FY 23. A total of 22 toll operate transfer (TOT) bundles valued at 33,600 crore rupees are expected in FY 24. Companies enjoy 100% tax exemption in road projects for 5 years and 30% relief over the next 5 years. The government plans to increase the Central Road Fund allocation by 19% in the Union Budget 2022 to 23. Carriage Ratings estimates that India will require additional infrastructure investment of 18 to 20 trillion US dollars in the next 25 years to become a 25 to 30 trillion US dollar economy by 2047. The selected leave case study is a 13-year-old toll operational national highway that forms part of a key logistics corridor, demonstrating consistent annual traffic growth and toll revenue over time. Data points were analyzed using both time series and comparative techniques. The asset was chosen based on its suitability for monetization, being operational, revenue generating, and under NHAI's portfolio. Other than this, interviews from the various stakeholders were also conducted to assess the different perspectives about asset monetization. This is a high importance corridor having an average annual daily traffic of more than 1.8 lakhs, calculated based on average daily fee collection. 60% of the traffic is commercial and the rest are passenger vehicles. Based on the last 5-year data, the KGR is 8.2% and the estimated annual O&M cost is in between 15 to 25 crores. The concession period is of 20 years on toll operate transfer model with electronic toll collection enabled. Capex is forecasted to be 529 crore Indian rupees in financial year 2025. Management of the concessionaire represented that the capex pertains to EPC cost and preliminary and preoperative cost. The traffic growth was high and increased by 12.8% in 2014 and 17.3% in 2015. At appraisal, traffic growth rates were estimated to be about 8.0% for 2004 to 2009, 8.5% for 2010 to 2014, and 8.0% for 2015 and beyond. The initial project cost was around rupees 1,500 crores, but the actual cost was 1,751 crores, out of which around 1 crore 50 lakh rupees. 1,000 crores were provided by the ADB. The total capital cost of this asset, as per NHAI, is rupees 8,766.26 crores. The annual collection is subject to an annual escalation of 3% plus 40% of the WPI. Additional 150% of the base fee will be payable for the bypass of 83.81 kilometers. The internal rate of return IRR for this is estimated to be around 13.5%. The present value of cash flows is 4,989 crores, but the present value of release of working capital is minus 1 crore. Hence, the enterprise valuation is 4,988 crores. The WACC considered is 9.46%. Present value of release in working capital represent negative working capital of 9 crore rupees released at the end of the concession period. The initial estimated concession value proposed by awarded concessionaire is of 4,428 crore rupees. This is the snapshot DCF for FY 25 to FY 34. But for the analysis cash flow till FY 44 is considered, the analysis begins with identifying the need for monetization. Asset monetization, particularly through models like toll operate, transfer, and InvITs, has several benefits for India's infrastructure development. It allows the government to recycle capital, optimize budgets, and improve operational efficiency. By transferring operational rights to private investors, the government can unlock capital and optimize budgets without straining public finances. This reduces dependency on budget allocations and loans, frees up public funds for new greenfield highway projects, and supports faster completion of pending infrastructure works. Privatizing the operation and maintenance of highway stretches ensures service delivery is tied to contractual benchmarks, leading to reduced life cycle costs, improved asset condition, and better end user experience. Private operators are generally more efficient at managing toll systems, maintaining road quality, and implementing safety measures compared to overstretched public agencies. Investor participation and market deepening are also benefits of asset monetization. It presents stable, long term investment opportunities for institutions such as global pension funds, sovereign wealth funds, and insurance companies, which typically seek assets with consistent cash flows and lower risks. This infusion of private capital strengthens the financial market and contributes to sectoral growth without giving up government ownership of core infrastructure. Asset monetization strategically reallocates specific risks to the private sector, allowing government entities like NHAG to focus on planning, policy making, and monitoring rather than daily operations. This separation of roles helps mitigate O&M and user service risks for the government, aligns incentives between public authorities and private players, and reduces administrative overhead and operational liabilities. The introduction of the National Infrastructure Pipeline (NMP) has brought visibility and structure to monetization efforts, ensuring better governance outcomes and reducing administrative overhead and operational liabilities. The National Monetization Plan (NMP) is a structured approach to monetizing highway assets which can improve coordination, encourage capital allocation, and encourage transparency in bidding. However, challenges in accurate asset valuation, public sentiment, and political sensitivity remain. Misjudging factors like future toll revenue, traffic growth, and inflation can result in undervaluation, leading to public loss or overvaluation. Traffic projections can be uncertain, and external factors like pandemics or economic downturns may affect toll revenue. Public sentiment and political sensitivity also pose challenges, as tolls are often seen as a burden on middle income and rural populations. Uneven asset interest across regions can result in a dual infrastructure scenario, with profitable routes receiving upgrades and others deteriorating. Contractual inflexibility and long term lock ins can hinder adaptive infrastructure planning, especially in the context of changing technology or mobility trends. Legal constraints limit renegotiation flexibility, and revenue sharing cannot be easily restructured mid contract. Unexpected regulatory changes may disrupt concessionaire economics. Capacity and governance gaps exist in the NMP, with not all state governments or agencies possessing the expertise to evaluate, tender, monitor, and enforce asset monetization contracts effectively. Inadequate governance can lead to poorly structured deals, disputes, or misuse of proceeds. Revenue concentration risk is another significant issue, especially when the government increasingly relies on monetization proceeds to fund infrastructure expansion. Fluctuations in toll collections due to economic slowdowns, natural disasters, or behavioral shifts can severely impact financial planning. The study analyzed a 13-year-old highway, revealing financial viability for monetization over 20 years and assessing timing 5 years earlier and later than fiscal year 2025. This comparative analysis examines the impact of monetizing a highway asset at three different time points, examining variations in traffic volume, toll revenue, maintenance liabilities, and capital inflow potential. It highlights how the timing of monetization affects asset valuation and financial returns to the public authority. We compared monetization in three scenarios: fiscal year 2020, fiscal year 2025, and fiscal year 2030. Despite its promise, monetization entails certain risks. Valuation inaccuracies, especially if future traffic projections are off. Revenue concentration, if returns depend on a handful of high traffic corridors. Public perception issues, particularly with toll revisions. The case study suggests that monetizing assets in fiscal year 2025 is optimal, as it offers strong valuation and long term returns. Early monetization can lead to lower valuation, and over monetization can lead to lower returns, operational liabilities, and missed opportunities. After the comparative analysis, the risk return matrix was also prepared. The case study analyzed a 13-year-old operational highway project to evaluate the practical implications of asset monetization under real world conditions. The project involved analysis of toll collection data, historical traffic volumes, operation and maintenance costs, and discounted cash flow projections over a 20-year horizon. Financial modeling was used to determine the viability of monetizing the asset via models such as toll operate transfer, TOTE, or through an InVIT structure. Asset maturity is key for monetization, as older, operational highways with stable traffic and minimal risk are ideal candidates. Data transparency enhances viability, and customizing monetization models matters. Stakeholder clarity is crucial, as the success of monetization also depends on clear legal frameworks, well defined concession agreements, and dispute resolution mechanisms. Strategic location influences value, with high connectivity corridors or highways near industrial logistics hubs holding higher valuation potential than remote stretches. Asset monetization need not be the only avenue to generate returns. A hybrid approach integrating other non toll revenue sources can make the highway sector even more robust. Billboard advertising and media rights, leasing highway adjacent land parcels, renewable energy integration, and multimodal integration and smart infrastructure can all contribute to the growth of the highway sector. By leveraging these opportunities, the government can reduce debt obligations and focus resources on infrastructure expansion. The study on asset monetization in the highway sector highlights its growing importance as a strategic tool for infrastructure development in India. The government has adopted monetization models like toll operate transfer, TOT, and infrastructure investment trusts, invites to unlock capital tied in brownfield assets and reinvest it into new projects. This approach aligns with the goals of the National Monetization Pipeline and broader infrastructure programs like Bharatmala and the National Infrastructure Pipeline (NIP). A comprehensive literature review and policy analysis highlighted both the opportunities and limitations of the monetization approach. A live case study of a 13-year-old operational highway project was undertaken, assessing financial indicators such as toll collection trends, projected traffic growth, operation and maintenance costs, and discounted cash flow (DCF) analysis. The case study demonstrated that without asset monetization, the government would face considerable delays in capital recovery, burdened maintenance responsibility, and missed opportunities for capital recycling. The research highlights that monetization offers advantages such as capital recycling, improved operational efficiency, and investor participation while transferring specific risks to private stakeholders. However, it also brings challenges such as valuation complexities, public resistance, regional investment imbalance, long term contract rigidities, and revenue concentration risks. These limitations must be addressed through robust institutional frameworks, transparent governance, and continuous policy refinement. In conclusion, asset monetization is not a standalone solution but a crucial enabler for sustainable infrastructure financing. With proper checks, balanced risk sharing, and integrated strategies, it can significantly contribute to India's economic growth and connectivity objectives. This study could expand into several areas, including assessing the impact of monetized projects on user experience, enhancing financial modeling through detailed analysis of discounted cash flow models, and introducing sensitivity analysis to test variations in toll revenue, inflation, O&M costs, and discount rates. Additionally, the study could explore sustainability and ESG metrics, integrating an ESG framework into monetization models and exploring how green highways or carbon credits can add financial value to such projects. Thank you.